Okay, so the goal of this course is to try to make possible that you are going to be able to make the transition from intermediate to advanced level in English. And I'm going to give you both general advice in terms of habits, action, tips, and specific advice in pronunciation in order to make your communication get to that advanced level so that you are going to be more comfortable talking to native speakers and in English in general. Yeah. The structure of this course is going to be divided into parts. In the first part, I'm going to give you general advice on habits, tips, how to deal with uncomfortable situations in order to keep learning, how to learn easy and in a manageable way English. So it's going to be more like general advice. And in the second part, I'm going to give you more like specific tips of pronunciation in order to make your communication better and in such a way that you are going to be more comfortable talking to native speakers. So in this part, I'm going to give you really specific tips about how to pronounce things so that you can communicate better. The intermediate stage is a stage in which most people get stuck in. So most people achieve this level, but they really struggle to go to the next level, which is the advanced level. This level can be considered the fluency stage because you're able to have a conversation with someone, you're able to express yourself, you're able to do like a simple presentation, an introduction of yourself. That's why it's called like the intermediate stage. So I define this stage as the stage in which you are able to, with certain degree of coziness, to have like a basic conversation with people talking about basic topics. However, you are not because your vocabulary is quite limited, it is a really big deal to talk about really specific topics. At the same time, because your vocabulary is quite limited, sometimes you don't know words and you need to struggle to find the right words. That's why you are not so fluent. You are fluent, but your fluency is not really high because sometimes you are struggling to find the right word. And as soon as you are starting to talk about a topic which is not super specific, let's say for example biology, it's a more specific topic, it's not so general, it's not so basic, it's more specific, you struggle a lot to find the right words at the right time. So that's how I would define the intermediate stage. Sometimes when you are in a conversation with native speakers or even non-native speakers, they can struggle to understand you because your pronunciation of some words is not right and it's not even close to right. So that's why sometimes native speakers or even non-native speakers from other countries are going to struggle to understand you. And it's quite uncomfortable to keep this conversation going because obviously they struggle to understand you, you are not going to be comfortable in the conversation and they're not going to be comfortable either. In the intermediate stage, you are not comfortable talking to native speakers because you struggle to understand them and you are constantly need to really struggle to know what they are saying. At the same time, they struggle to understand you as well, so the conversation is not going to be comfortable. In terms of writing, you are almost going to be able to write about anything, like any kind of letter, like an essay, like a report, like a recommendation. You can write any kind of letter. However, if the idea that you want to express, you are going to be able to express almost any idea and the other people are going to understand the idea that you are going to try to transfer. However, if the idea that you are going to try to transmit is complex, you are probably going to leave mistakes. You are able to express adequately your ideas in the sense that people are going to understand the idea that you want to transfer, but you are going to leave generally significant mistakes. When it comes to your ability to talk the language and communicate and practice, it is for you super difficult to keep talking for a lot of hours in this language because you need to make a lot of mental effort and soon you're exhausted. This happens when I was in a summer camp and it was about talking all the time in English, and the people who got like an intermediate level were really exhausted. Well, me as well, I've got like an intermediate level and I was really exhausted of talking in English all the time, and I just needed to just like check something in Spanish because otherwise it could be really exhausting for me to be all the time communicating in English. Yeah, so you don't have like the English language internalized to such a point that you're able to just speak in that language. You still need to talk in your own language to relax and recover mentally from the effort of speaking in English. Yeah. So when it comes to habits, you may be practicing right now a lot, like maybe you practice not that much, like once a week, or even you may be practicing like not just once a week with a tutor or something, someone you speak to, but maybe you practice every day, like one day or two with a tutor. Maybe other days you are listening to music, reading, but just because you are preparing for an exam, or maybe you do it by in a passive way. Maybe you listen to music, but you don't try to learn the lyrics, you don't try to really understand the song. You're not really trying to immerse yourself in the language. Maybe you are reading, but you are not like, maybe you are watching videos as well, watching series, but you are not really like trying to go in depth and just like learn new words and stuff. You're just like doing it in a superficial way, if that makes sense. And you are not practicing that much, maybe like 1 hour a day, but you are not like trying to do multiple activities every day in your everyday life that are comfortable for you in English. Yeah. Another important point and feature of this stage is that you are not really clear about your goal in English. I mean, maybe you are preparing for an exam, maybe you are studying for a certificate, to get a certificate or something, but you are not really like wanting to get to a certain level to say, oh yeah, I want to just like get to a level in which I'm able to have normal conversation with native speakers. You are not saying that, you are saying, oh yeah, I want to get like the B2 certificate, the C1, the C2, but you are not really like having a proper goal of when it comes to skills and abilities of speaking English, just you want to do an exam. Basically, the idea is that you don't have a long-term goal. You have maybe a short-term or intermediate goal of medium-term goal, like for example, getting a B2 certificate, but you don't have like a compromise of being practicing for 5 years every day in order to achieve something really specific when it comes to skills, to speaking, to listening. Yeah, I feel like that's a mistake also people make, that you need to have like a goal apart from the goal of wanting to get a certificate. And again, I think there's nothing wrong with it, but it should never be your long-term goal. Yeah, you want to keep moving and keep improving that language. Okay, so in this part of the course, we are going to be looking at what you don't have to do when you are in the intermediate level. You want to get to the advanced level. Okay, so when you are in the intermediate stage, as in the beginner stage, it's not going to be a good idea to try to make meaningful friendships with native speakers, like English native speakers, because like the things like the level is really high and you are like making lots of mistakes, so they are going to struggle to understand what you say. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of why it's a bad idea to try to make like meaningful connections and friendships with native speakers when your level is beginner or intermediate. So I remember that when I was in UK, because I went to Leeds, I went to the UK, I was sharing an apartment with some flatmates. Some of them were English native speakers. And one day, like, I remember I was in the kitchen and I told one of them, oh, I'm going to save. And I was trying to say shave, and I was saying save. And because my pronunciation was wrong, like, even if I was telling him save, like 10 times, he was not able to understand me. So it's super important that your pronunciation is good. And the thing here is that imagine a conversation, you know, because this was one word and he'd understood me. But imagine like conversation with this person. At the end of the day, he's not going to be comfortable. I'm not going to be comfortable because he's going to struggle to understand me. I'm going to struggle to understand him when he talks. And we both are going to be uncomfortable. And it's really difficult to make a friendship when both people are really uncomfortable being with each other, you know. One of the worst feelings that I've got when I was learning English or when I was learning German was, for example, I was in a conversation with like English native speaker or German native speaker. Okay, let's say English native speaker, and I was in a conversation with them. And at some point they started laughing about something they said, but I was not able to understand what they said. So it was like kind of, okay, yeah, it's funny. I want to be in the mood, you know. I want to keep laughing with you, keep doing stuff, but I don't really understand what you're saying. So it's really it doesn't really make sense to be laughing, because then you feel like empty. You feel like what the fuck I'm doing, you know. So yeah, like you're in a conversation with a native speaker and you don't understand them. The key is to tell them, oh, could you repeat that? Even if it's like 10 times, 100 times, tell them to repeat it, because like if you tell them to repeat it, they are going to slow down. They are going to talk slowly, and they're going to try to make sure you understand them, you know. But in the other case scenario, you just like pretend that you are understanding them all the time. They are going to start using more slangs and talk faster, and then like it's not going to be possible to have a conversation. Yeah, that's one of the other reasons why I think at this stage it's not like a good strategy to try to talk regularly with native speakers. Yeah. Another thing that I want to point out is that at this point your level is really low, so don't expect that you are going to be able to get to a really high level just by listening to podcasts or music, because still you don't know that many words. So just by listening, you are not going to learn new words and internalize them. So you still need to learn new vocabulary, check the dictionary. You still need to talk to people to stimulate you to make more connections in that language. Yeah, that's super important, because like my mistake with German, for example, it was that I was trying to, well, I'm trying to do that, but I'm still doing that, yeah. Is that I was trying to just improve by listening to music and to podcasts, and I just struggle to find new words because I'm lazy, you know, something. But you really want to get to that advanced level. You need to keep just like trying to learn new words every day and trying to find someone to talk to. Yeah. One of the worst things that you can do when you are abroad in the US, in the UK, Australia, and you are trying to improve your English is to meet regularly with Spanish native speakers or people who actively want to speak in Spanish. Because for example, in my case, I know people who have been like living in the UK, in the US for about like 7 years, and I talk to them, and even so they have a really strong Spanish accent, and this is because like they have been like living with Spanish people in the same flat, talking every day with Spanish people. So what you have to do in this situation, you are brought like try to not speak at all with Spanish people. Try to avoid to speak with them. I know it's difficult. I know it's not straightforward to manage it, but you really want to take your English to the next level. You need to stop like talking to Spanish people. Yeah. Also, I wanted to think that sometimes like people go 1 year to UK or the US, like being like doing like jobs in which they only need to use the same phrases all the time, and they don't really push themselves to speak better, to know new words, to express themselves in different ways. So, and the key is to try to find a job or try to do something when you are abroad, so that you can express yourself and you can try to say new words and be in new situations that allow you to improve and say new things, you know, because you are all the time saying, hello, what do you want for lunch, you know? And you know something, it's better than nothing, of course, but that's not going to make you like super fluent in a wide range of variety of topics, you know? And another thing I want to point out is to try to avoid not only Spanish native speakers, but people who actively want to speak Spanish. Because I remember when I was in the UK, some English people were wanting to speak Spanish with me all the time. And obviously, if they want to speak Spanish, then it's not a good deal for me, you know, because I want to speak English. So try to avoid all that kind of people who also want to speak Spanish with you. Yeah. Okay, so what to do in order to overcome the intermediate plateau? Most people are able to get to the intermediate level just by going to an academy, being in their home country, and just like not doing massive effort, you know. They're able to say a lot of things, kind of express themselves, saying basic things in a basic conversation. But when it comes to getting to the advanced level, you need to change your strategy. You just like don't need anymore to, you have to stop like doing that, just like learning from an academy and that's it. You need to try to incorporate English into your everyday life. You need to try to start listening to music, watching videos, just like more dedication. And also you need to make an active effort. So it's like spending more time every day, but in the right direction. Yeah. Of course, like depending on whether you are in your home country or whether you are abroad, the strategy may be significantly different. However, in both cases, you are going to need to practice a lot of English. And in both cases, yeah, you need to have a lot of dedication. Obviously, it's going to be like easier to improve faster in English when you are abroad, when you are in the UK, in the US, Australia, Canada, than when you are in your home country. Yeah. Okay, so how to be able to do the transition between intermediate to advanced level when you are in your home country? I'm not gonna lie, it's going to be way harder when you are in your home country as if you were abroad. But also, I can tell you that it's possible, you know, it's possible, you can achieve it. Indeed, like, I'm trying to do that right now with German. It's kind of difficult, I should be taking it out to be more seriously, but it's possible, it's actually possible. The thing is like, to get to intermediate level, what you were doing about going to an academy, having a private tutor, talking to him like once or twice a week, is possible. It was possible to get to the intermediate level. However, you want to get to the advanced level, it's not going to be possible anymore to use that strategy. And you need to incorporate English into every day of your life. One way or another, yeah. One way or another, yeah. One of the things that is extremely necessary at this stage is to talk to people at least in weekly basis, like at least once or twice a week. Yeah, I mean like the key is you are not able to afford like private lessons because they are expensive. Then there's an application which is called Clubhouse, in which you can just like join a room and start talking to people. And also the other thing that you can do is to use Tandem, which is an application in which you can just like find people who are interested in, for example, learning Spanish, and you can just like teach them Spanish, talk 20 minutes, and then talk another 20 minutes in English with them. Yeah, and that's another way of like practicing in regular basis, yeah. So as I previously said, you really want to make the transition from intermediate to advanced level. You really have to stop practicing like just once or twice a week, like talking to someone, but you need to practice somehow every day. Listen to music, listen to podcasts, watching videos, and that's the only way that you can really just like advance and progress to the next level, to the advanced level. And yeah, I mean, the thing is like, you want to make like super progress, like to get to advanced level in 1 year or so, like a little bit more, a little bit less, 1 year or two. You need to stop like just practicing English like once a day, but you need to do multiple things in English. For example, like talking to someone in Clubhouse every day, and then just like listen to music, learn the lyrics of the songs, just try to watch videos about things that you like. Yeah, you need to start incorporating English, not just for one thing, not just for 10 minutes every day. that's a good strategy for maintaining level, intermediate level, but you want to advance to advanced level and native level, you need to start practicing every day, multiple times, yeah. And I think to just talk to a friend in English, even if he's Spanish, or to use Clubhouse, is a really good it's a really good long-term viable strategy, because at the end of the day, it's really difficult to economically to pay someone like 20 euros every day for a lot of years. So I feel it's better to try to do something for free, you know. And I feel like talking to a friend that you know, or for example, using Clubhouse that you can do it instantly, is a really good strategy. Tandem is something that it could work, but in general doesn't work, because there's lots of dissipation, you know, because you need to spend 20 minutes with a person who struggles to speak Spanish, and then you have only like other 20 minutes to speak English. I mean, it's not the worst strategy, but I feel like it's better Clubhouse, because you can find people who also want to speak English and want to improve in English, and your friend the same, yeah, wants to improve in English, I guess. One of the things that I feel like that really helped me in order to get to advanced level and just like keep improving English is to not just like listen to music, but try to really learn the lyrics, understand them, and be able to emulate what they say, to repeat what they say. And this really allowed me to learn new vocabulary, make better pronunciation, connect more words, like make sentences in the language. And I feel like it's making a point of connection, you know, with the language, and the more points of connection you have with the language, the easier it's going to be to improve and just like internalize more the language. And I at the beginning, like the first songs that I listen and check the lyrics were like "What Do You Mean?" Justin Bieber, and "Let Me Love You" of Justin Bieber, and that really helped me to, you know, like learn new words, like sing in English, and I think that's a really good turn on, yeah. Yeah, again, every time you listen to a podcast, every time you watch a video, try to learn at least one new word. And yeah, because that is going to make you learn much faster. Here, as in the beginner stage, your level is really low, in the sense that there are lots of words that you're going to be listening that you are not going to be sure about. However, you are going to need to just focus on words that are used often, not on every single word. So for example, if you see a word that people are repeating it constantly in a conversation, or often, or more than once, yeah, try to check that word, because that's like a keyword in the conversation. But don't try to check every single word, because you know you are going to go crazy. It's going to be super an unpleasant experience, and you're not going to enjoy it that much, so you are not going to want to continue doing that again. And the other thing that I would like to say is that it's more important, for example, 100 words, to learn 100 words that are used in a daily basis context, than, for example, 1,000 words from a really specific book of biology. So you are going to use way more than 100 words than the 1,000 words. This is due to the Pareto principle, which 20% of the causes lead to 80% of the consequences. And here we apply the Pareto principle as well. Although, as I told you before, that it's like you should always try to, every time you listen to podcasts, to music, song, or to whatever you are doing, like try to learn new words. It's okay one day you don't learn words, you know, it's that's alright. But at least the default thing to do, when you listen to a podcast, the default thing that you have to do is to learn new words. It's okay that one day in a month you don't do it, but it should be the exception, not the rule. Yeah. So I remember that when I started listening to things in English, I started with the BBC radio, listening to the BBC radio, because one friend of mine told me, hey, you can listen to radio in English. And that's why I did. But the thing is, like, you need to try to listen to something that you enjoy, because like I remember that for me it was not a pleasurable experience to listen to the BBC, because they were talking about things that sometimes I was interested, but like probably most of the times I was not interested. And what happened is that that's not sustainable in long-term basis. So what you have to do is to try to listen to something that you like and really enjoy and you're passionate about. So I remember when I started to listen to TED Talks about things that I was more excited about, listen to podcasts about things that I was more excited about, then like listening in English was like almost effortless. And I could spend like way longer time than when I was like listening to the BBC radio. Yeah. So the main difference between transitioning from like intermediate level to advanced level is that in the intermediate level you can achieve it just by being in a purely academic environment. You don't need to do like real life experience in order to get to intermediate level in English. However, if you want to get to advanced level in English, you need to experience life in that language to some extent. So you are just in a room trying to learn English, then it's going to be really difficult to get to a really high level, advanced level. So what I recommend you is to try to experience life in that language, like hang out with people that talk in English and go to the mountains, go to play football, go for a walk to the city. Just try to do stuff that is not trivial so that you push yourself to learn new words, be in new situations, you need to describe new things. Because otherwise, in a pure academic room, the range of things that you need to talk about is really, really little. And what you want to do is to try to push yourself to new situations in which you need to use the language and expand your vocabulary, your expressions, your understanding of the language. Yeah. My first 3 months that I was living in the UK, I learned an insane amount of new words because I needed to expose myself to new situations. For example, I remember that I needed to go to city and start buying some things for my room, for my accommodation, and I needed to buy a hanger, and that's something that I didn't really knew how to say. I was getting like sore throat, so I needed to buy an warmer to avoid sore throats. And these kind of activities in which I needed to do things outside a room, outside like the normal space in which I was learning English, which was a room. I needed to go to real life and experience new real life situations in English, made me improve my English way faster. So try to experience life in English, not just be in a room. And that's the way in which you are going to really go to intermediate to advanced level fast. As I previously said, I think like watching movies, watching films, something that obviously is going to help you, but if you base your learning mainly on that or only on that, I feel like you're not going to get to the advanced or a really native level, because the thing is like you need to make like when you're interacting with people, you are receiving constant feedback of what you are doing right, what you are doing wrong, pronunciation mistakes, vocabulary mistakes, learning new words. And if you're just like watching a movie, that doesn't happen. So I feel like if you want to really get to native level, probably it's not going to be possible just by only watching movies. However, that is going to help massively, of course. Yeah. So as I previously said, I think it's going to be way easier to improve faster in English if you are living abroad, because when you are living abroad, the environment rewards you. So when you communicate better with people in English in the UK, in the US, Australia, there's going to be better in general. You are going to do more what you want, people are going to understand you more, you are going to deal better with the staff of shops, restaurants, etc. So in general the system rewards you like when you speak better English. So I feel like, and also you have more chances of interacting in that language. Because for example, you're in Spain or in a non-English native speaking country, people in general are not going to reward you because you're speaking a foreign language. Indeed, probably it's going to, the opposite is true. Like if you are in Spain, you're speaking English, like people are going to say, I don't understand you, well, why are you talking English, you know? So yeah, I mean, like you need to, so therefore like it's going to be way easier to improve when you're abroad. However, you still need to make an active effort in order to get to a really high level, even if you are living abroad. Yeah. Okay, so what to do you want to really get to the advanced level in English? So probably the most important thing is the mindset. You want to get to an intermediate level, you can have the mindset of dealing like English as a school subject like mathematics, biology, in which you go to an academy, you do some exercises, and then you pass an exam. But that's not the mindset here anymore. You want to get to the advanced level, you need to start practicing every day and stop treating like English as a school subject and start treating it as a communication, as a form of communication. Yeah. One of the things that is super really surprising to me, really striking to me, is that because for example I talk to people, you know, and I say I like English, you know, I'm doing this project of English, and just to say, oh, I just don't really like English, and then well, maybe with other languages, you know, maybe they tell me I don't like English, I don't like German, I don't like French, because I find French, I don't know, they don't like it, whatever. And I ask them, but why you don't like English, for example? And they reply me, oh, because oh no, and they tell me, and they don't know why is it, you know? And then I ask them, but do you like Spanish? Do you like Spanish? And they tell me, it's my native language, you know? I just feel it's my native language. You just don't know. It's my native language. And then I ask them, so if you were like English, it's just like another language. It's just like kind of Spanish, you know? So I feel like the problem is that we still treat like subjects, like languages as subjects, and that's one of the main mistakes. And we have to treat languages as tools of communications. And when we stop like seeing languages as subjects and we start seeing languages as tools of communications, then it's going to be way easier to improve and to understand what to do in order to improve in that language. Yeah. So when you are like learning a new language, I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is to have a final goal in that language, which is to get a certificate. I strongly believe that it should never be the final goal of learning a language to get a certificate. And why I think so? Why I think that having the goal of the final goal in the language to have a certificate is a mistake. This is because I feel like the problem that I see is like, okay, you study a lot, you do the hard work, and then you finally do the exam and get the certificate. And now what happens? There's nothing going on. You are still like the same person, living in the same place, hanging around with the same people, living the same way, having the same habits. So you don't change profoundly your life, you know? This means that as soon as you get it, everything is over, and you inside you feel empty. Like a few days later, you feel empty because you don't see progress. You are not making progress anymore. Life is about making progress, isn't it? Yeah. I remember that when I was in my last year of high school, I just wanted to get into a double degree of physics and mathematics. And I was really obsessed about getting to, because like it was required to get a really high score when it comes to doing the exams of access exams, you know. And I was really like working super hard, like 12 hours every day or even more, like 95% of the days, and 5% I was working like 8 hours. I was like able to keep working during this like 3 months, 4 months, super hard. And eventually I did exams, eventually I finished them. But what happened is that as soon as as soon as I stopped doing exams, stopped something to strive for, I was empty. I was not making progress in my life, and also I didn't get to. It was like required a 13.5 out of 14, and I've got a 13.2, something like that. So even I was not able to get into what I initially wanted, even if I was like making lots of hard work. Yeah, I mean, I should have enjoyed a little bit more the process, and I should have probably not give so much importance to get a certificate to pass an exam. Because again, as soon as you finish the exam, your life is empty. You don't have nothing to strive for, and I feel like that's not like the way like the world is, you know. That's not the way the world works. And the cruel reality is that even if you get the certificate, that doesn't mean that you are an expert on the field, and that doesn't mean that you are world class in the field. So, I mean, obviously, like you need to apply for a job, and one of the requirements is to have an English certificate or language certificate of German or whatever language. Obviously, like get the certificate, but never like try to treat an exam as the final goal, because as soon as you do the exam, you are empty. There's nothing to strive for, and that's a really big mistake that I used to make. Okay, so if you are planning to go to UK, the US, Australia, one of the things to avoid, like for example, let's say you are a native Spanish speaker, so what you have to do at all costs is to avoid meeting with Spanish native speakers, or avoid being in situations in which you are going to talk to Spanish native speakers. That is going to make you be more comfortable and not to take the risk of talking English with native speakers, with people in general in English, and you are going to just like talk in English and in Spanish and just like become comfortable talking Spanish. And also obviously like the time you spend talking Spanish, you are not spending it talking in English. So obviously like don't meet Spanish people in general. Yeah, I know this is something that is really easy, like if I tell you right now, it makes sense logically, but when it comes to reality, it's way harder, because when you are in a situation talking to a Spanish speaker and you are getting on well, you have someone to talk to, and your English is not really good, then it's not so easy, so straightforward to make the right decision of like talking in English and stop talking with a Spanish person, because there's more like emotional baggage and emotional link. You have an emotional link with that person, you know. Yeah. So I remember that a few years ago, an acquaintance of mine decided to go as an Erasmus, like as a year abroad to the US, and she decided to rent an apartment with another girl from Spain. And okay, this initially, when you are here in Spain and you are planning to go there, that seems a really good idea, because you don't know anyone, you just like want to know someone to have some degree of coziness when you are going abroad. Some certainty about what's going to happen, you know. But when it comes to when you're already there after the first days and you start meeting people, you see that this is more a limitation rather than an advantage, because you need to speak with this person in Spanish. You're not going to speak with this person in English. It's not going to have like you have been speaking to this person like for a long time in Spanish, and it seems awkward. It's not natural to speak in English. And then like most people I know keep talking in Spanish when they are abroad, like couples and friends and stuff. So it seems a good idea initially, but when it comes to reality, like it limits you because you need to just like talk to this person all the time in Spanish, and you need to live with this person, and that prevents you from like meeting new people who speak English, to getting to know new people. And also like living with a Spanish speaker like promotes the likelihood of you even meeting with more Spanish people, because maybe your friend has other friends, like they have she has friends or he has friends that want to visit her. So you increase the chances of meeting more Spanish people. While you're alone and you just like don't try to meet Spanish people or Spanish native speakers, it's going to be way harder to just like speak with Spanish people. Yeah. So if you are going abroad, I recommend you to not to go to live with Spanish native speakers or people who actively want to speak Spanish. Yeah. So one of the ideas that really helped me in order to just like don't try to talk to Spanish people when in my year abroad is that I saw that I was just going to be 1 year in the UK, and I thought that when I came back to Spain I would have the chance to speak all the time that I wanted in Spanish. However, 1 year is not such a long time, you know. So I decided to try to maximize my time in the UK talking in English with as many people as possible so that I could improve the most my English. And I knew that when I would come back to Spain, I would not be able to speak that often English. So just try to avoid. I see every single second as an opportunity to improve my English. And that mindset, that attitude really helped me to improve massively to get to a really high level. And again, so the opposite of what I said before, like try to position yourself when you go to UK in a situation in which you are forced to talk all the time in English. So because if you're in a situation, you are just surrounded by people who speak English, and you don't have the only option, the only alternative that you've got is to keep talking English all the time, and you don't have the option to talk in Spanish. And that was my case. When I was in the UK, I was surrounded like 99% of the time by people who spoke English. And when you are in that situation, like you have no chance to do nothing else but apart from just talking in English. And I feel like you should try to position yourself in that situation when you go to the UK or the US or Australia or an English native speaking country. Yeah. Okay, so what to do at this stage? So right now your level is kind of low because you still are in the intermediate level. So as I previously said, I think it's a mistake to try to have meaningful and deep relationships with and friendships with English native speakers, because two reasons. You are going to struggle to understand them, they are going to struggle to understand you. Therefore, in my opinion, it's not going to be worth it. And what I recommend is try to meet like non-native English speakers who you just can't talk with them in English. So for example, people who from Germany, France, Italy, like go to UK and they just like speak English, they don't speak Spanish. Yeah, like people that just speak English, you can just speak English with them. So they are not studying Spanish, you can't speak in Spanish with them. And try to speak as much as possible with them, try to really make connections with them, and try to push yourself to the limit in conversations, to say things that you are not sure, even if they ask you to repeat, because they also are more patient and more open to learn new things than native speakers, because native speakers are not going to learn by speaking English. However, non-natives are more patient and have more interest and more willingness to learn things about English in general. One of the strategies that a lot of students tell to the lots of teachers tell to the students is to speak slowly. And I think that is something that is good when it comes to that you are going to do tomorrow representation. It's a good strategy. You are not really fluent in the language, or if you want to do like a kind of examination, let's say. However, when it comes to reality and really trying to improve your level, that is not really a good strategy, because the key is you always are using the same words. You are always not trying to speak faster. You are never going to really get to that next level. So I recommend to really like a good long-term strategy of really improving your level, not just doing something decent, not improving your level. You need to push and you need to use new words that you are not sure about, even if people don't understand you, and you need to try to increase your pace of speaking, even if sometimes you miss some things or you pronounce things wrongly. It's the only way of when you push, when you test yourself in something, then it's when you improve. When you get out of your comfort zone and test new things. But you're always in your comfort zone, it's really difficult that you are going to make a significant improvement. You are always just like you always keep doing the same things. You're always going to keep getting the same result. Yeah. So push yourself to out of your comfort zone basically in order to speak better. So for example, when I was like going to an English academy, I remember that like my teachers were telling me that I should just like try to speak slowly and I should try to use the words that I strictly knew. Okay, maybe you are going to the presentation tomorrow. Maybe that's the best strategy because you want to perform the best, you know. But it's not a really good long term strategy. You know what I mean? Because the thing is like in order to you start all the time using the same words and never trying to pronounce things differently, it's really difficult that you're going to actually improve in that language. Yeah, and probably you are going to be stuck in that situation. So that advice, I don't really like that advice to be honest. And indeed, I do the opposite. I always try to push myself to say things I'm not comfortable saying. Yeah, indeed, from my point of view, our personal experience, in order to get to a high level in English, like the best technique is to try to take as many risks as possible when it comes to speaking. So you are not sure about the words said, because like people are going to tell you feedback and you probably are going to eventually be sure about how to say that word. However, you never take that risk. You are never going to know how to pronounce, how to say this word, when to use it. Yeah, try to make as many risks as possible. I also think it's a matter, language learning is also a matter of trial and error. So do something, if it doesn't work the way you want it, try something else. And just the more you fail, the more you try, the faster you are going to improve. And another thing that I want to say is that even if you are doing the hard work of just speaking to English people, even if you are doing the pushing yourself, even if you are doing the trial and error, just like risking, trying to use new words that you are not sure about, it's going to take time. So you are going to need to be patient. You need like, I remember that when I was in the UK, like at the beginning, like my friends, when I started to try to change my accent significantly, my friends were not able to understand what I was saying. And it was really frustrating, wasn't it? Yeah, but like again, like 2 months, like after leaving the UK, 2 months later I went to Germany, and lots of people like were asking me if I was from the UK. So yeah, I mean like it takes some time, but like if you keep making the effort, eventually you're going to get to a better accent. But be patient. Yeah, so when I started to just like change my accent, or even right now, even after today, some people just are going to criticize you and are going to tell you that you are speaking wrongly or in an unnatural way. Yeah, but you need to don't care about it and just like focus on keep improving and focus on the positive feedback, you know? Yeah, just wanted to say that some people are going to criticize you, and that should not be like holding you back to keep doing the hard work and keep trying to improve. Indeed, that's something positive, because if they are criticizing you, it's because they are seeing you are doing something that has value. If not, they wouldn't criticize you otherwise, would they? And again, I'm going to reiterate that in this stage is super important that when you just go abroad, not just try to learn in a room, you know, in a classroom. Try to just like go outside, go outdoors, and try to experience life, because I think that's super important. When I was in the UK, I was, as I said, like going bowling, doing trips, visiting new cities, and that really allowed me and pushed me to learn new words. And I was learning every day between 10 and 50 words, like learning a massive amount of words. And yeah, so that's why I recommend you to not just like be in a room, because if you are all the time in a room, it's going to be super difficult to learn new words in a meaningful way. So in such a way that you are going to remember how to pronounce the words and the meaning of the words. Yeah. So try to experience life as much as you can. In real life, I know a friend that, well, he was Spanish, but he was living in the UK. And I remember that he was like the kind of person who was like not really going out, not doing nothing apart from doing just like studying and, you know, studying, going to class, and which again, nothing wrong with that. But the things like when it comes to, I remember that we did a trip and he, and the thing is like we did a trip and he was not able to say almost nothing. When it comes to reality, he was struggling to say everything because he was just not used to talk in general, like about stuff outside the room, outside the lunchroom, and he was struggling to say like really basic stuff about like train and, you know, that sort of stuff. So I recommend you to not just study in a room, but really try to experience life in that language. Reaching this advanced level is going to really allow you to become more comfortable in English, and it's going to make you communicate better in English. At this stage, when you get to the advanced level, you can keep improving way easier, and it's way harder that you are going to forget the language. However, that doesn't mean that automatically you are going to keep improving if you get to the advanced level. So if you want to keep improving in the advanced level or even at a higher level, you need to keep making an active effort. So indeed, like I know some people, I know some friends that, because I went to the UK with them, that they went to UK, got to an advanced level, and then like they are able to express themselves perfectly. Native speakers understand them. They understand the native speakers to some extent, to a high extent, let's say. But they went back to their countries, and because when I saw them again, they were not like way better in English, and this is because they were not like making an active effort in English. So you need to keep practicing even if you want to improve, even if you already got the advanced level. Okay, so in order to get to a beginner level or to intermediate level, it's not really important to focus on pronunciation. However, if you want to strive for advanced level, you really need to focus on pronunciation even more. And there are three main things that I want to say that you need to focus on, and you want to get to a point in which you are going to be considerably more comfortable with native speakers. Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to pronunciation of the advanced level, what you have to do is to focus on, to get to advanced level, you have to focus on the first point in consonants, how to pronounce all the consonants of the English alphabet, and in which words you have to use them, and also internalize them in such a way that you're able to emulate the sounds in real-time conversations. I want to point out that it's super important that not just like knowing how to make the sound, but knowing all the words in which you need to use that sound. Because for example, like there's a sound. It's a sound that I used to knew how to make it, but I didn't knew like I need to make it in the S, in the letter sometimes. So, for example, I was saying president instead of president, which is president. I was saying result instead of result, which is the correct way of saying it. I was saying desire instead of desire, which is the correct way of saying that. I was saying deserve instead of deserve. Yeah, so it's not just about like knowing the sound, but knowing all the words in which you need to apply them. Yeah, and not just like knowing all the words, but internalize them so that you can use them in real life conversations. Yeah. So one of the things that really struck me when I was in the UK is that I was making lots of mistakes in pronunciation, and sometimes it was not so much because like I was pronouncing things super wrong, and sometimes it was not because I was it was not because I was like I didn't know how to make a sound, you know. Sometimes it was just because I was pronouncing a silent letter. Yeah, so try to focus on learning in which words the letters are silent, and you don't need to pronounce them, because that is going to help you to speak in such a way that people, native speakers, are going to understand you way better. Yeah. And third point, last but not least, first approach pronunciation. So basically, is that sometimes you think you read words, you just like know the words written, but when it comes to like a native speaker saying it, you don't know how to actually they say the words. And you make mistakes not so much because of your pronunciation is bad, but that of course as well, but it's also because you just think they are pronouncing a different way. For example, I was used to say build instead of build, and it's not something that I could improve that, and without really improving my phonetics, you know what I mean? Or for example, I was saying mountain instead of mountain. Or I was saying biscuit instead of biscuit. I was saying biscuit instead of biscuit. Like these simple things that really, when you keep adding up, really make a massive difference. And for example, I remember that when I went to UK, I was, instead of saying like talk, I was saying like talk. So I was pronouncing like the L, and it's something that you have to do. And I knew how to say talk, you know. I know how to not pronounce the L. So yeah, sometimes not so much about like better pronunciation, but it's about better knowing how to really actually pronounce a word. Okay, so unlike in Spanish, in English, there's the letter B and V are pronounced differently with the sounds B and V respectively. So the letter B is short and intense, and it's like a blast. So what does this mean that it's like a blast? It's like an explosion because it's really intense, it's like plosive. B, like in bed, boat, bath. Yeah, it's really intense and short. And the letter V, the biggest difference is that you need to make vibrations. And every time you see the letter V written, you need to make the V sound. So for example, in vibrations, or for example, in violin, or voltage. Also, one thing that normally like non-native speakers struggle with is when the letter V is also at the end of the word, you also need to pronounce it like a V, not like an F, not like an F. So for example, expensive, you need to pronounce the last V like a V. Intensive, positive. In all these cases, you need to pronounce like the V as a V. However, it's a little bit less intense, less emphasis as if it was at the beginning of the word. But you need to pronounce it as well, like a V, not like an F. Also, the letter B sometimes is silent, but like we already been talking about when the letter B is silent. So the next sound that we are going to look at is the Z sound. It's like a th, but you need to make vibrations at the same time. So z, z, z. And now the logical question, the natural question that arises is when I need to use the Z sound. Okay, so the Z sound, you can always find it when you find the letter Z. So for example, in the words zoo, zucchini, zoom, crazy, frozen, freeze, And also you can find the letter Z, even if it's at the end of the word, you need to pronounce it like a Z. So for example, size, fantasize, realize, criticize, you need to also pronounce it like a Z. Apart from the letter Z, you need to pronounce the sound Z when you find the letter S, and the letter S is in between two vowel sounds. So for example, in the words deserve, desire, prison, risen, result, president. Yeah, in that kind of words, you need to pronounce the S like a Z. Also, there are some exceptions in which letter S is in between two vowels, but you don't need to pronounce it like a Z, but as an S. So, for example, in the word episode, in the word isotope, you need to pronounce the S as an S, not like a Z. You need to pronounce the Z sound in the letter S when the letter S is the last letter of the word, but this is only true in verbs. So for example, in visualize, realize, rise, was, is, lose, use, utilize, and the previous vowels are vowel sound. Yeah. So I want to point out that in order to really make a solid, strong 100% rule, I need to really expand on this, but I'm not going to do this here because that will really complicate things and would not make it like practical for this level. So I'm not going to be really go in depth into this. Just like know what you need to know, that is in between two vowel sounds, like for example in deserve, you need to pronounce it like a Z, and also when it is at the end of the word and before a vowel sound, you need to pronounce it like a Z. So for example, in use, yeah. It's possible to find a Z sound when letter X, when letter X is at the beginning of the word. So for example, in xenophobia or xylophone, you can find the letter X, or in xenon, the letter X is pronounced like a Z. So the TH voiced sound is a sound that doesn't appear in that many words in English, but in the words that appear, those words are really used, so they are really important. Therefore, I recommend you to really learn this sound that you really want to be understood more, understand more at the same time. So, it's the sound, like the voiced TH sound is like a D, but you need to make vibrations at the same time. So it's the. Okay, and I'm going to mention the most relevant words in which you can find this sound. So for example, in the words the, though, although, the, that, rather, father, mother, brother, then, they, this, these, those, rather, clothing, breathing, and yeah, I think those are the most relevant cases. Maybe there are some other words. If I'm missing out some of them, just let me know, message me, or I think those are the most relevant ones. Then as well, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the next sound that we are going to be looking for is the J sound, which is like a G sound, but you need to make vibrations at the same time. This is a sound that even English native speakers struggle to make. So right now you are struggling to make properly this sound. Don't worry too much, because even English native speakers struggle. However, if you want to sound more native and understand more, I think it's worth it to learn this sound. So again, like it's like a G but with vibration. So J, J. Okay, so it's possible to find this sound sometimes in the SU RE ending. So for example, in pleasure, leisure, treasure, exposure, measure, composure, closure. Also, it's possible to find it in the SION ending. So for example, vision, television, decision, precision, occasion. So it is possible to find this J sound in the AGE ending. So for example, in the words garage, collage, massage. And also it is possible to find this sound in other random words. So for example, in Asia, Persia, usually, usual, unusual, unusually, casual, casually, and casual. Okay, so this next sound that I'm going to talk about is super crucial, is super important. So really, if you need to learn one of these sounds that I'm talking about, this one is the one that you don't have to miss out. So go for it. Okay, so it's like when you are asking for people to be quiet, you are like shh, 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 doing this sound. So you need to do the same here. It's exactly the same sound. It is possible to find these sound in different letters, and I'm going to talk in which cases you can find these sounds, because this is important, not just how to make the sound, but in which cases you need to use it. These sounds, always you are going to be able to find it in the SH letter combination. So for example, in share, shake, shot, shoot, ship, show, sheep, shawl, shabby. Yeah, and obviously in any case in which you find the SH letter combination at the same time, automatically you find this sound. Yeah. Also it is possible to find this sound in the letter S in the SION ending. So for example, in the words repulsion, mansion, dimension. Also, it's possible to find this sound in the letter S at the beginning of the word. So for example, in the word sugar and sure. So it is possible to find the sh sound in the letter C in the SIAL ending. So for example, in the words financial, superficial, beneficial, special. Also, it is possible to find this sound in the CH letter combination. For example, in the words chef, machine, mustache. Yeah. Find this sound in the SS letter combination. So for example, in aggression, obsession, progression. Yeah. So it is possible to find the sh sound in the letter T. Particularly, it is very common in the TIAL ending. So for example, in the words confidential, presidential, confidential, presidential, exponential, existential, and also in the TION ending. So for example, in the ending specification, approximation, accommodation, precipitation, and contribution. Yeah, these are really important sounds. So these are super important sounds. So don't forget to learn it, because it's probably one of the most important ones from the ones that we have been looking at. So the ha sound, This is a sound that doesn't exist in Spanish. The closest one in Spanish is the sound, but in this one you are like using your tongue. And you're moving it, but in this one your tongue is not really moving, so you need to keep your tongue like in the middle without really doing anything, and you need to let the air from the inside to flow to the outside without really moving your tongue or your lips or anything. So it's ha, 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 and that is what really Spanish people struggle with, because in Spanish, like all the sounds, you need to kind of move your tongue somehow, but in English sometimes no. So yeah, so for example, this sound is really common, and it's common to find it in the letter H, although there are some cases in which the letter H is silent. But in general, you are going to find it in letter H. So for example, in the words handsome, hot, hand, heat, home, house, heel. Yeah. Okay, so the last sound is the R sound, and it's a sound that a lot of Spanish native speakers struggle with because it's not really common in Spanish. Like in Spanish, you would be like touching using your tongue with your lips, and you would produce like a really strong sound. But in English, like you keep like your tongue inside your mouth without touching your lips, and that is more uncommon. Okay, so obviously like this sound you can find in the letter R and also in the R letter combination. So even if you find like two R's together, that doesn't mean you need to make a strong sound, which is something that a mistake that I was making when I was in the UK. But I said UK people don't say like preferred or they don't say that even if they don't say like sorry, even if there are like two R. So even there are two R's together, you need to make like a soft R sound. So it's sorry, or preferred. And if it's at the end of the word, the letters R, you need to make silent the letter R. So for example, in the words preferred and referred, you find like a double R at the end, but even so, you don't have to pronounce it. And that's a mistake that I was initially making. So in conclusion, the letter R is always pronounced like every time you see the letter R or a double R letter combination, you always need to use the soft R English sound, so ra, not ra. Okay, so right now we are going to be looking at the silent letters. You are able to know when the letters are silent and you don't need to pronounce it. You are going to improve massively your pronunciation. Yeah, so let's go. So let's start with the letter A. So the letter A is going to be normally silent when it comes before LLY. So for example, in the word logically, artistically, mathematically, physically, optically, realistically, academically. And one case in which at the beginning of the word the letter A is silent is aesthetic and aesthetically, in which let's say at the beginning is silent and the letter A in the middle end is also silent. Yeah, aesthetically. This is a mistake that I used to make in the past, but also it is something that I see lots of non-native English speakers that make this mistake of pronouncing the letter A instead of like keeping it silent. So say instead of like, for example, optically, they say optically. And it's something that is super easy to correct, you do not have to learn out of things, it's just like not pronouncing something, that's it, yeah. The letter B is also normally going to be silent when it comes after the letter M. So for example, in the words comb, tomb, womb, bomb, plumber, climbing, yeah. Thumb, crumb. Yeah, in these kind of words that B is going to be silent, you don't need to pronounce it like, yeah. So the letter B is usually going to be silent when it comes before T. So for example, in the words debt, debtor, doubt, doubtful, doubtless, undoubtedly, subtle, subtleness, yeah. As I previously said, there are some exceptions to this rule. So for example, in the word obtain, the letter B comes before the T, however the letter B is pronounced in this case. And also like for example in remember, the letter B comes after an M, and even so it is pronounced And so remember, membership, yeah, these kind of words. I remember that like I was once in the UK and I was like having a conversation with some friends who were not native speakers, and one of them instead of saying like debt, he said like debt, and the other one was like, hey, I didn't understand you. He said, oh, debt, yeah. So it's really important for better communication, yeah. So the letter C is normally going to be silent when it comes after the letter S and before I, E, or Y. So for example, in the words scene, scenario, sizzles, science, muscle, scientific. There are some words that also satisfy the rule of silent C. So for example, in the words muscle and yacht. And the letter C is usually redundant when it comes before the letter K or the letter Q. So for example, in the words acknowledge, acquaintance, acquire. Yeah. The letter D is normally going to be silent when it comes before the letter N or G. So for example, Wednesday, the letter D is silent. Before the letter G. So for example, pledge, bridge, pledge, bridge, edge. In these cases, letter D is also going to be silent. And also we've got more cases in which letter D is silent. So for example, in the words sandwich and handsome, yeah. When you add letter E at the end of the word, what you actually are doing is that you are making the vowel sound longer. So for example, you say mat and then you add an E and you say mate. Or you say for example, you say strip and then you add an E at the end and then you say stripe. Yeah. So the letter G normally is going to be silent when it comes before the letter N. Yeah, before the letter N and after a vowel sound. So for example, in the words align, foreign, design, sign, feign, rain. And of course there are some exceptions to this rule. For example, the words cognitive, ignite, magnet, signature, yeah. Also the letter G normally is going to be silent when it comes after a vowel sound and before the letter H. So for example, in the words high, weight, light, yeah. Furthermore, the letter G is also silent when it comes normally at the beginning of the word and when it comes just before the letter N. So for example, in the words no, gnarly, gnome, gnomic. Sometimes the letter H is silent at the beginning of the word. So for example, in the words our, honor, honest, yeah. And sometimes the letter H is silent when it comes after the letter C. So for example, in the words character, chorus, choir, eco, anchor, yeah. Sometimes the letter H is silent when it comes just after the letter W. So, for example, in the words when, why, what, yeah, the letter H is silent. Yeah, sometimes this is not true, particularly when letter H is followed by an O. So, for example, who, whoever, whole, yeah. Sometimes the GH letter combination is pronounced like a F sound. So for example, in the words craft, laugh, rough, tough, enough, cuff. H, in those kind of words, the GH letter combination is pronounced like an F. So normally the letter K is going to be silent when it comes before the letter N. So, for example, in the words night, knife, knowledge, no, knee, need. Yeah. It is funny because like the pronunciation of night and night is the same one, because at the beginning I thought that it should be different, but it's not. Yeah. So the letter L is normally not pronounced when it comes after the letters A, O, or U. So for example, in the words talk, stalk, palm, calm, calf, half, yoke, folk, should, could. So the letter N is normally silent when it comes at the end of the word after the letter M. So for example, in the words column, autumn, bam, bam, solemn, condemn, him, him. Also, there are some exceptions in which you also you need to keep like the letter N silent. So for example, in the word government, you don't pronounce the letter N. So the letter P is normally silent. It's usually silent when it comes at the beginning of a word in the PS, PT, or PN letter combination. So for example, in the words pseudonym, pneumonia, psychology, psychiatrist, pterodactyl, pterodactyl, pterozool, pterozool. And also there are some additional words in which the letter P is silent. So for example, in the word receipt, the P is silent. Indeed, when I went to UK, I went to a restaurant and I told the waiter receipt, and he was not able to understand me. And then like one friend of mine who was British, he told me that the P is silent in receipt, so you don't have to pronounce it. And yeah, and also some other words like for example coup, or like cobbled. Yeah, in those words that's a P silent as well. The letter S is normally not going to be pronounced when it comes just before the letter L. So for example, in the words island, isle, islet, and isle. Also there are some other words that come from, for example, French or the languages, in which the letter S is silent. So for example, in debris, patio, yeah. Silent letter T. So the letter T is usually going to be silent in the STEN ending. So for example, in the words listen, fasten, moisten, glisten. And also the letter T usually tends to be silent when it appears at the end of the word in the STLE letter combination, or just like in the STLE letter combination. So for example, in the words castle, apostle, bustle, hustle, whistle, mistletoe, bristle. Yeah. And also there are some other random words like often, in which letter T is silent. Also you can say often as well, yeah. The letter U is normally silent when it comes after the letter G at the beginning of a word. So for example, in guess, guest, guide, guidance, guitar, guys. Yeah, and also there's some other words in which the letter U is silent. So for example, in biscuit, build, circuit. Yeah, so the letter W is normally silent when it comes before the letter R at the beginning of the word. So for example, right, right, wrong, ring, rap, wreck, wrestle, wrestle. Yeah, also normally the letter W is silent if it is followed by H and O. So for example, in the words who, whoever, whole, whole, in this kind of words that W is silent as well. Yeah, the letter W also can be silent in other random words, like for example to or sword, sword. Yeah. The only words which I know in which the letter X is silent is in a word that comes from French, faux, which means like fake. And last but not least, the only words that I know in which letter Z is silent is in rendezvous, which is like a kind of like a secretly romantic meeting. And it's a word that comes from French. Yeah, also it appears in the song Perfect of One Direction.